Hello and welcome back to another video on the Silence and the Fury DLC for Total War Warhammer 2. This video is going to be my personal review for this DLC, where I'm going to let you know if I recommend you buy it and just how good it is. So first of all, I'm going to go over the criteria. I'm going to be rating this DLC out of 5 in 4 different categories per faction for a total score out of 40. Sounds a little bit complicated, but I promise it'll make sense. I'm going to be rating each faction out of 5 on their Vortex campaign, Mortal Empires campaign, their faction mechanics, and of course the new units. Also, this video is sponsored by Games Planet. If you want to pick this DLC up for 15% off, then use the link in the description. Helps out the channel, and you grab yourself some new content on the cheap. First of all, the campaigns. Are they enjoyable, and do they offer a unique experience that you can't get from the other factions? So first of all, Oxyotl. He has more or less the same gameplay on Mortal Empires as he does on Vortex, but in Vortex you have a bit more of a storyline to guide you through it. They're another Lizardmen faction, but they don't start anywhere near to the others, so if you're looking for a challenge or a change of scenery, then they are definitely a decent pick. Their goals are a little bit light. You need to take out Taurox and his faction, of course, but to be honest, most of the time they either get outright killed by the AI or beaten up so bad that by the time you reach them, you have nothing to worry about. Aside from this, you pretty much sit around waiting for visions of the old ones, quests, and the final battle, so it can be quite directionless for a while aside from the constant side quests and of course being attacked. I give him a 3 out of 5. For Taurox, he's the first beastman to be introduced in the Vortex campaign, so it can be a lot of fun to try them out on a totally new map. As far as their campaign goal, it's pretty straightforward, so don't go into this looking for a deep layered story campaign like the main Vortex race. You gotta take out Oxyotl and get to max of Ruination and beat the final battle. Depending on how aggressive you are, you can complete the first one of those in less than 50 turns, so after this you will be wondering what to do with yourself. That being said, since you're the Beastmen, you go to war with pretty much anyone, so when you are directionless, you just go in any direction. I give him a 4 out of 5, pretty much because he is a new faction to the Vortex. Now Mortal Empires, Oxyotl again. Since you're all the way up in the north, you don't have any lizard allies to assist you and keep your border safe, so pretty much everyone will turn on you before long, meaning you need to establish safe and secure borders nice and early. This wouldn't be so bad if you didn't need to bounce around the map all the time, since it makes it into a choice between completing these side quests and having a traditionally successful faction. It can be frustrating, but it's certainly unique, and once you get a second army on the go, it's really not as bad, but up until that point, you'll be a little bit stretched thin. As far as direction goes, you have a little bit more incentive to venture out from your homeland and take on specific targets outside of Taurox that will actually put up a fight. So this one can be a lot more fun and engaging if you ask me, and will force you to explore the map more than most factions in the game. So all in all, I give Oxyotl's Mortal Empires a 4 out of 5. As for Taurox, they start nowhere near to any other beastmen in Mortal Empires, so it was an entirely new continent to raise in bloody glory. Fighting versus lizards, elves, and more is a refreshing change to the usual beastmen experience of taking on the Empire. The victory conditions also make things a little more interesting and give you more direction in what you want to be doing. You have many more targets to take out during the campaign that will help you get those max ruination stacks without having to just declare war on anything you see, though you should really be doing this anyway, but it's always nice to have a direction. When compared to the other beasts, he has a different set of foes, he can take on a new world and raise it to the ground, so it's definitely a breath of fresh air. Overall, I think Taurox's Mortal Empires is totally unique and it is a whole lot of fun, so it's definitely 5 out of 5 for me. Now for their mechanics. Are they interesting? Are they unique? Do they offer a different experience than the standard faction? First of all, Oxyotl. His Silent Sanctums are pretty much the lizard version of Undercities. They allow you to scout out a region and have full vision of the map if you space them out well enough. It also gives your armies all sorts of buffs for fighting in range of one of those. Aside from that though, they are really underwhelming compared to Undercities that every Skaven faction can make use of. I suppose this is offset by the fact that they can't be detected or destroyed, but I have to say, I wish we could have got something a bit more exciting and a bit more engaging. The visions of the old ones are a load of side quests that appear all over the map and grant the faction bonuses for completing them and penalties for missing out. This also allows Oxy and his army to teleport around the map once per turn to these mission areas, select settlements, and sanctums. I have mixed feelings about this one since they can give you all sorts of bonuses that give you a lot of power and gold quite quickly, but they also pop up and prevent you from doing any traditional expansion, which results in your faction falling behind quite quickly. There's nothing worse than being about to make a massive expansion that will take you quite a few turns to do, and then one of these missions pops up and you have to continue your expansion whilst being debuffed by all these mission failures, or take on these missions and delay expansion. The teleporting thing is cool, but aside from that, these are essentially just side quests that distract you from the main path and end up pulling you further and further behind. One more thing that isn't really a mechanic but is really cool is the fact that Oxy can sell anywhere without being unsuitable or uninhabitable. If you want to paint the map, then he's a great choice for easy settlement management and growth. I give him a 3 out of 5. Now for Taurox. His mechanic is Rampage, and it allows him to go on a killing spree harder than a 13-year-old on Rust. he can take several armies and settlements out in a single turn, whilst the rest of the world can only sit back and watch. It is incredibly fun to do to see how high a kill streak you can get, but if it happens to you, then it does become quite sad. Other than that, he is more the same as any other Beastmen, but make no mistake, this one mechanic is incredibly strong, if not the heaviest on content, but you have to remember that this DLC also essentially gave us reworked Beastmen, so if you take all of that into account, then holy macaroni, there is so much more here that I don't even have time to get into. If you count the Beastmen rework, then 5 out of 5. If not, I have to give it a 2 out of 5 since it is just so light. And now the units. First of all, Oxyotl, and the first unit of him is of course Oxyotl. He's a powerful skirmishing lord that is nearly impossible to lock down, but can take almost anything apart from afar. We get the Skink Oracle, which are Troglodons written by spellcasters that have a varied but kind of underwhelming book of spells. Chameleon Stalkers, which are a powerful early game flanking shock infantry that use their speed and stealth to their advantage. The Troglodon, which is an extremely powerful ranged monster that do incredible amounts of armor piercing and poison damage, both from ranged and in melee. The Coatl, which is a majestic flying monster that can sneak anything into combat and support the army with powerful damage and spells. And the Regiments of Renown, the Pale Death for a more frontlines focused Troglodon, Geltbomb's Revenge, which is a stealthy and unrampageable Carnosaur, and the Spirit of Tepok, which is a Coatl with different spells. Some of these units are a little bit underwhelming, but for the most part, they are really strong, so I have to give it 4 out of 5. Now for Taurox. Taurox himself is an extremely tough and powerful lord that can basically become a one-man army if you let him. The Doombull is a lord version of the Gorbel that we've all been asking for years, and is incredible. The Wargor is a melee support hero that makes for great campaign assassins and frontlines leadership support. The Tuskarr chariots are weaker versions of Razorgore chariots. I don't like chariots, so I'm probably not going to use them. The Jabberslife is an incredible anti-infantry monster that can cost as much as a Charlemagne to render. The Gorgon is a large target assassin that can shred anything to pieces at the cost of being huge ranged targets. And the Regiments of Renown. The Grog Hooves of Wolves Run, which are Centaurs throwing axes that gain poison attacks. The Vaubergland's Broodmother, which is a Jabberslife that's based more around taking on armoured units. And the Blood Brute Behemoth, which is the true king of large target assassins with scaling damage as their targets become weaker. With all the fantastic monsters on show, I've got no choice other than 5 out of 5 for Taurox's units. So for those of you counting along, that is 29 out of 40 overall, but 32 out of 40 if you count the Beastman rework in this, which you really should. This is a great score, and the DLC here is really strong, but I would say it is held up by the Mortal Empires, since the Vortex campaign seems to have all but been forgotten about at this point. Once you get on a roll with either of the factions, you'll be pinballing all over the map and fighting all manner of factions, which makes for a very refreshing experience to the usual fighting 1 or 2 faction types per campaign. If you include the Beastman rework in this DLC, then they did an extremely fantastic job, since they have gone from one of the worst factions to one that is a lot closer to the top, so I may need to redo my ranking. Add the free DLC we're getting on top of all this, and this is as big a bang as we could have asked for to send off Warhammer 2. If you don't own Game 1 and Mortal Empires, then this is a great pickup for you, since you get the whole new and improved Beastmen in the game, which can be a lot of fun to play with. If you own Mortal Empires but not the Beastmen, then again, you're getting a whole new faction to play around with, and it is absolutely worth the price of admission if you ask me. Now, if you own both Mortal Empires and Beastmen, then I think this one is a bit of a judgment call. You need to look at the mechanics of the 2 new lords and decide if there's something you want to play with, since I can see them being undesirable to some. But for me personally, despite the issues, I can definitely give my Colonel's seal of approval to pick this one up. If you do want to pick it up, then consider using my Games Planet link in the description. Helps me out a lot, and you get the DLC for 15% off. If you have any doubts, they're a licensed distributor that resells keys directly from the publisher for a discounted cost, and unless stated otherwise, they work worldwide, so definitely check them out for all sorts of deals. And I think that just about concludes everything for my Silence and the Fury DLC review. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, then definitely be sure to leave it a like and share it with all your friends. I know they'd enjoy it just as much as you did. If you want to see more videos like this on Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 3, this is the last DLC before Warhammer 3, so it's only a matter of time before we get some juicy content for that. So definitely subscribe if you want to check it out. I'd like to take this time to thank all supporters of the channel, in particular, Kobe Said So, Nifty Norm. I know I thank you all the time, but I really can't thank you enough for supporting me all the way at that and Clean Ones tier. Thank you to each and every one of you for watching, and for now, I've been Colonel Damneders, and I will see you next turn.